and welcome to my second video tutorial for 3ds Max. Today we're going to go over the use of the lathe tool, and basically I'm going to show you how to model just a quite a basic wine glass. And I'll go over a little bit of information about the lathe tool. It's basically when you create a spline, it's just an outline in like the outline basic structure. So when you apply the lathe modifier, it takes that single spline and sort of does like an extrude on it, but it does an extrude around 360 degrees, which is, so if I was to do a I don't know, say I was to do a circle in a spline with a circle spline, and then I was to apply the lathe modifier to it, it would repeat that circle around 360 degrees and you'd get sort of a ring. So that's basically some information about the lathe modifier, and well, I guess we might as well just get started. So and I've actually got a wine glass with me here, so it's good reference, and I recommend that if you are going to try and model something with the lathe tool, it's good practice to actually have a reference. So it doesn't have to be the real thing; it could be just a picture, but it's always good to have something. I'll just adjust my microphone a bit. Okay. So anyway, let's get started. So I'm here in my basic Max, 3ds Max 7. I know there are versions higher than this, but we're just using the lathe tool, so as far as I know, it shouldn't cause that much difference. So when using the lathe tool, it's best to use the front viewport, and you only do one side. What I mean by that is, imagine that you're looking at the object from the side view. Well, there is no side view really with the lathe tool. You're looking at the object. Now cut that object in half, and then you see the outline. That's what you're going to have to draw out with the spline tool, and then obviously things will fall into place after that. So right, let's get started. I'm moving into my front viewport, and for this I'm going to maximize it by clicking this little button down here. And obviously you'll notice I'm using a bigger screen than my last one, but my new computer, so hopefully this tutorial won't be so big. Okay, we're going to go into shapes, and we're going to click the line button here. Again, we get our standard crosshair, and at the moment we're ready to start drawing out this wine glass. Something I shared really quickly: nothing ever comes out perfect the first time. You will go through, normally you will go through at least 2 to 3 changes you've made after you've applied the modifier. Even if you're just tweaking little bits, you'll hardly ever get a perfect lathe. You'll hardly ever get a perfect lathe on the first go. So don't get frustrated if it doesn't work the first time. You can always modify it. Right, so my wine glass, I'll start with the top. Now it says black line here around the this is your y-axis. I recommend that you use this as your center point. So if I was to start here and my wine glass was to move out like this, this would be the center point of the wine glass. So if you start out here, you're going to get a mirror of it here. So don't be making your wine glass like that's really bad, but no, that's not even a wine glass. But don't be doing that when you will have it completely go out here. When you go out here, it will be a lot bigger than you actually think it is. You can always scale it down, but we don't want that. Okay, let's get rid of that. That was terrible. Okay, we'll go back to the line. and we'll start around here. Now you'll notice that I'm not using Bezier corners. I'm not using I'm not smoothing anything yet, because this is only the first go. You don't need to be really precise on the first go, because obviously you can change it. Now you see here, this is very like blocky, but that's because I want to get a basic view of what it's going to look like first, and then I can start modifying it. We're going to go. We'll start going out a little bit. See, this wine glass sort of has a curvature going down. Right, we'll go close blind. Now, that doesn't really look like a wine glass. And I know, because, like I said, we're only mapping out the first bit. So, if we take to we'll just move. Select our move tool. We'll go into the modify panel and select vertices. Like here here we can do our real fine tuning of it. I mean, look here, it's wonky, so all I've got to do is select that, even it out a little bit. I mean, this is just the first step. When you first start out with modeling, remember to try and keep proportions the same. So I don't want things getting so thick up here when it's thin down here, or normally it will be a lot thicker down the bottom and thinner at the top. But no model glass will be the same. That's because no glass is the same. Well, no same. Oh, you know what I mean. The glasses will look different from other ones which you may want to start modelling. I mean, this one, it does thin out at the top. Let's sort this out. This looks a bit bad. Like I said, if you haven't used any Beziers yet, or Beziers or smooths, and you're always free to use those. In fact, I think we'll start converting our points to some smooths in a minute. Okay, see how that works as smooth. So that makes the curve a lot smoother, and you can start getting into modelling what the real thing looks like a lot easier now. Oh. I'll keep that as it is. I don't like the look of that. It's just a matter of getting things looking not like getting things looking a bit realistic. I mean, I'm no, I'm sure you guess I'm no expert at this, but I think everybody needs to know roughly how to use these modifiers, and that is, I'll change this to a smooth. Oh, I like to use the, I find that smooth works like often with, when I'm modelling anyway. I like to use a smooth rather than the Bezier, because to be honest I never get the hang of a Bezier, so it seems to screw up. This is using the lathe is a very good way of making background stuff. So if you're into mapping and you want to make like background basic props, like a I don't know, if you want to do a wine glass, that's very simple to do. Because did I do that one? Yeah. It's very simple to do because you just need to do the basic outline, and once you've done that, you just need to, it's just a matter of texturing it, really. I mean, glass is, in my opinion, is quite tricky to texture. There's a lot of different ways of doing it, and I personally haven't got the hang of it. That actually looks a little bit too big. Oh, no, I don't want to do that, actually. Let's move that. That's not so tall. This glass sort of curves in a little bit at the top, not that much. You see, it can be tedious. I'm gonna stop the video here, and once it's finished, I'll resume it. Okay. I think we've pretty much got our basic wine glass here. It's not perfect, but it does the job basically. This is this is like the best I can get at the moment. And like I said, there's always room to improve it if you do need to. So we're gonna go and apply the lathe modifier now. So we're going into modifiers, and then we go to patch / spline editing. Can't talk tonight. And then we select lathe, and then basically you'll see that it's done something completely unexpected, and we didn't want that to happen. Now that's basically because it's been stretched around a certain axis and aligned a certain way. It's, at the moment, we don't want it, so under align, click minimum, min, but it's short for minimum, and then you'll notice that we sort of have the glass that we were looking for. Now that doesn't actually look like the glass that I hadn't expected it to look like that. Because if we go into our perspective, you'll see that well, you won't know this, but the sort of, I don't know what you call this bit, the handle bit. People that drink wine are going to kill me now. This little bit here is a little bit too long, and this sort of area here is too wide. So we can fix that, because remember, we didn't make, applying the lathe modifier didn't delete our lines, it just changed how it appeared. We just click this little light bulb here, and it will take off the lathe, and that means we can go back and basically edit our lines. So I'm gonna just select these, push that in a bit. And all it is just a simple job of just correcting what you made. That looks a little bit better. I'll pull that down. Just fix that. Remember, I'm just trying to get this done quickly. If you, I don't know, if you're doing this professionally, you'll want to spend a lot more time, and you'll probably end up using a lot more vertices than I am. I mean, here you probably use more for the detail, whereas I've used quite minimal vertices there. Okay, I think that looks a bit better. So we'll just come out, light up our lathe again, click on lathe, we open up our perspective, get that word out, and comparing it by putting it up to against the screen and not destroying the screen. It looks about right. The only thing I would change is here the sort of glass goes in a little bit, but so you pay attention to what you're actually doing, what you're trying to achieve. But I don't think that looks too bad. I'll just brush over the parameters of the lathe. Zoom out a little bit. Here under degrees we have it does. I spoke that it rotates the spline around a certain amount of degrees. Well, here you can edit that. So if I was making a scene where there was only a bar, it was just a bar scene, and I wanted to stick 50 of these glasses up on a shelf, unless I was purposely gonna move the camera around there, I only really need to see half of that wine glass because they're stacked up against the shelf. Now this is where you come into a bit of trouble with texturing. So maybe using that example was a bit bad on a wine glass, but things like I don't know, a jar where it's got a label on it, you could probably get away with only showing half of it because it's not going to be as clear. But we'll go into I don't know, we'll just put it at 180 for a second. We go into flip normals here. You'll notice that it shows us a little bit more of the other side. That's good if you need to, just looking at your model, see the inside. Flip normals can come into good use. Let's put that back up. Direction. Now this is quite odd. It basically it determines the direction in which your spline is going to be lathed, basically. So we do it around the y-axis. It'll give us that. Z-axis, x-axis, and then of course you've got your minimum, center, max, minimum, center, max, Z, max, center, minimum. And that's basically the best thing I can sort of tell you at the moment. Obviously you can see where the lathe has been applied. It's given you a lot more meshes as we've got here. We could change it to NURBS, mesh, or a patch. It's really down to preference, really. Whatever you need to be using, whether you've got to be using NURBS, mesh, or a patch, really. And now it's just a matter of texturing it. I'm not going to go over the texturing, but at least you've got your basic model. So that's how to use the lathe modifier.